Hi everyone, welcome to today's lesson. In this video, we are going to learn about the life of Donald Trump. This is not just a story, it is also a way for you to practice listening to English in a simple and easy way. I will explain slowly and clearly so that you can understand every part. Donald Trump was born on June 14, 1946. His birthplace was Queens, which is one of the 5 main parts of New York City. New York City is very big and very famous, and Queens is one of the areas where many families live. His full name is Donald John Trump. Donald was born into a big family. His father's name was Fred Trump. Fred was a very successful businessman. He worked in real estate, which means he built houses and apartments for people to live in. Fred built many homes in New York and became very rich from this business. Donald's mother was named Mary Ann MacLeod Trump. She was from Scotland, a country in the United Kingdom. She moved to the United States and married Fred. Donald Trump was not the only child in the family. He had 4 siblings, which means 4 brothers and sisters. In total, Donald was the 4th child. His brothers and sisters were Mary Ann, Fred Jr., Elizabeth, and Robert. So Donald grew up with many family members around him. Even though Donald's family was rich, his parents taught him that life should not be easy just because of money. His father, Fred, wanted his children to understand the value of working hard and being disciplined. Fred believed that success only comes if you are willing to put in effort and not give up easily. When Donald was a young boy, he went to school in Queens. His first school was Q Forest School, a private school in New York. But Donald was a very energetic child. Sometimes he had too much energy and got into trouble. His father thought that Donald needed more discipline in his life. Because of this, when Donald was a teenager, his father sent him to the New York Military Academy. The military academy was not like a normal school. It was very strict. The students wore uniforms, followed rules, and learned discipline every single day. Life there was not always easy, but it helped Donald learn how to be more focused and serious. Many people believe this experience played an important role in shaping his personality later in life. After finishing high school, Donald Trump went to college. First, he studied for 2 years at Fordham University in New York. But later, he transferred to a more famous school, the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania. Wharton is known as one of the best business schools in the United States. Donald studied economics there, which is the study of money, business, and how markets work. He graduated in 1968 with a degree in economics. By this time, Donald had learned many things from both his father's example and his own studies. He had the knowledge of business from his school, and he had the experience of discipline from his military training. These 2 things would later help him in his future career. When he finished college, Donald Trump did not go to work for a new company like many students usually do. Instead, he joined his father's business, which was called the Trump Organization. This company was already successful, but Donald wanted to take it even further. He started working with his father to manage buildings, make deals, and learn how big business really worked in New York City. In the 1970s, Donald Trump got his first big chance. He decided to work on a project that many people thought was too difficult. It was a hotel in Manhattan called the Commodore Hotel. Manhattan is the heart of New York City, where you can see famous places like Times Square and Central Park. At that time, the Commodore Hotel was old and not doing well. Many people thought it was not worth fixing, but Donald Trump saw an opportunity. He made a deal with the city and with a company called Hyatt. Together, they worked on the hotel. Donald wanted to turn it into something modern and beautiful. After the renovation, the hotel was given a new name, the Grand Hyatt Hotel. When it opened, it became a big success. This project was very important for Donald because it showed people that he was more than just the son of a rich man. He could make big deals and take risks on his own. It also gave him a lot of attention in the business world. After this success, Donald Trump became more confident. He believed that he could create something even more impressive. In the early 1980s, he started a new project that would change his life forever. This project was called Trump Tower. Trump Tower was built on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, which is one of the most famous and expensive streets in the world. It was a huge skyscraper, very tall and shiny with glass walls. The building was designed to be both an office space and a place where rich people could buy luxury apartments. When it opened in 1983, it quickly became one of the most famous buildings in New York City. Trump Tower was not just a building, it was also a symbol. People began to see the name Trump as a brand, a sign of wealth and success. If you walked by Fifth Avenue, you could see the golden letters spelling Trump on the tower. It showed that Donald Trump wanted his name to be connected with power, money, and style. During the 1980s, Donald did not stop there. He bought many other properties, including hotels and casinos. One of his biggest moves was in Atlantic City, a city in New Jersey known for gambling and casinos. Donald wanted to be part of this world. He opened several casinos, including one called the Trump Taj Mahal. When it opened in 1990, it was the largest casino in the world. At this time, Donald Trump was becoming more than just a businessman. He was also becoming a celebrity. He appeared in magazines, on TV shows, and in newspapers. People were not only talking about his business deals, but also about his lifestyle, his expensive cars, and his taste for luxury. He became known as someone who loved big things, shiny buildings, and success. This period made Donald Trump a very famous name in America, and even around the world. But as we will see later, success does not always last forever. Business can go up and down, and Donald also faced many struggles in the years that followed. After the success of Trump Tower and his casinos, Donald Trump was at the top of his career in the 1980s. He was very rich, very famous, and often seen in the news. Many people looked at him as a symbol of the American dream, someone who wanted success and worked hard to get it. But as the 1990s began, Donald Trump's business empire started to face problems. Even though he owned hotels, casinos, and big buildings, many of them were not making enough money. When a business does not make enough money to pay its debts, it can be very dangerous. This is what happened to Donald. The casinos in Atlantic City were very expensive to build and to run. The Trump Taj Mahal, which was the largest casino in the world when it opened, cost almost $1 billion. At first, people were excited to see it, but after some time, it did not make as much profit as expected. Other casinos in Atlantic City also faced the same problem. Because of this, Donald owed a lot of money to banks. During this time, newspapers and magazines started writing about Donald Trump's financial problems. Some people thought he might even lose his whole business empire. He had to sell some of his properties, and he also had to make special deals with the banks so that he could pay his debts slowly instead of all at once. This was a difficult period in his life. Imagine being very rich and powerful one day and then suddenly facing the risk of losing everything. For many people, that would be the end of their career. But Donald Trump did not give up. He kept working, he made new deals, and he tried to protect his image as a successful businessman. Even in this hard time, Donald Trump stayed in the spotlight. He understood that being famous was also a kind of power. He wrote books about success, such as The Art of the Deal, where he explained how he made business decisions. The book became popular and helped people see him not only as a businessman, but also as someone who could teach lessons about success. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Donald Trump slowly rebuilt his empire. He focused on using his name, Trump, as a brand. This meant he did not always need to build a building himself. Sometimes other people would build hotels or towers, and they would pay Donald to use the Trump name. For example, many buildings around the world were called Trump Towers, even if Donald did not build them directly. This way, his name became like a business product. People connected the word Trump with luxury, power, and wealth. By the early 2000s, Donald Trump was again a well-known figure. He had survived a very difficult time in business, and he came back stronger. This showed one of his most important qualities: persistence. Persistence means not giving up even when life is very hard. But Donald's story was not only about business and buildings. Around this time, he also became even more famous through television. In 2004, he started a TV show called The Apprentice. On this show, young business people competed for a chance to work with Donald Trump. Each week, the person who did the worst job would be eliminated. Donald would look at them and say his famous line, "You're fired." This line became very popular, and millions of people watched the show. It made Donald Trump a household name not just in America, but in many countries around the world. He was no longer only a businessman. He was now a television star and a public figure. So even though the 1990s brought him many challenges and financial problems, Donald Trump managed to turn things around. He used his name as a brand. He stayed in the spotlight, and he became even more famous through television. Donald Trump's story is not only about business and buildings. His personal life, especially his marriages and children, has also been a very important part of who he is. Many newspapers and magazines often wrote about his family, so his private life became almost as famous as his business life. Donald Trump has been married 3 times. His first marriage was to Ivana Trump. Ivana's full name was Ivana Zelničková. She was born in Czechoslovakia, which is now called the Czech Republic. Ivana was a model, and she was also very good at business. Donald and Ivana got married in 1977. Together, they had 3 children. The first child was Donald Trump Jr., born in 1977. The second was Ivanka Trump, born in 1981. The third was Eric Trump, born in 1984. Ivana did not only stay at home, she helped Donald with his business. She worked in some of his hotels and projects. People in the media saw them as a powerful couple, rich and glamorous. But after 15 years of marriage, their relationship ended. In 1992, Donald and Ivana divorced. Even though they separated, they continued to care for their children together.
After some time, Donald Trump married again. His second wife was Marla Maples, an actress. They got married in 1993. That same year, they had a daughter named Tiffany Trump. Tiffany grew up mostly with her mother after Donald and Marla divorced in 1999. Later, in 2005, Donald Trump married for the 3rd time. His third wife is Melania Trump. Melania was born in Slovenia, a small country in Europe. Like Ivana, Melania also worked as a model. In 2006, Donald and Melania had a son named Barron Trump. Barron is the youngest of Donald Trump's 5 children. So, in total, Donald Trump has 5 children: Donald Jr., Ivanka, Eric, Tiffany, and Barron. Each of them has taken different paths in life. Donald Jr. and Eric work in the Trump Organization, helping to run the family business. Ivanka not only worked in the business, but also later became one of her father's closest advisors when he became president. Tiffany studied law, and Barron is still in school, as he is much younger than the others. Donald Trump is not only a father, he is also a grandfather. His older children have their own families now, which means Donald has many grandchildren. He has often said that he enjoys spending time with them, even though his public life is very busy. The media often talked about Donald Trump's marriages, his divorces, and his children. For many years, he was seen in magazines, newspapers, and on television not just as a businessman, but also as a celebrity whose personal life interested the public. For English learners, this part of Donald Trump's life shows an important lesson. Even very powerful or successful people also face personal challenges. Relationships can be difficult, and family life can be complicated. But just like his business career, Donald Trump always tried to move forward, no matter what happened. By the early 2000s, Donald Trump was no longer just a businessman. He had become something much bigger. He was now a global brand. A brand means a name or symbol that people recognize everywhere. Just like when you see the name Nike or Coca-Cola, you know what it stands for. The name Trump started to mean luxury, power, and wealth. Donald used his name in many different ways. He built hotels and towers not only in the United States, but also in other countries. some of these buildings were not directly built by him. Instead, other developers paid him to use the Trump name. For example, you could find Trump Towers in cities like Chicago, Las Vegas, Istanbul, and even as far away as the Philippines and India. For many people, seeing the Trump name on a building gave the idea that it was a special and expensive place. But Donald Trump's fame did not stop with buildings. In 2004, he became the host of a reality television show called The Apprentice. This show was about business competition. Young men and women came on the show to prove they could work in business. Every week, they were given tasks, like selling products, creating advertisings, or managing events. The team that did the worst job had to meet Donald Trump in the boardroom. In this boardroom, Donald Trump would question them, ask tough questions, and finally decide who should leave the competition. When he made his decision, he would point to the contestant and say the words that became his most famous line, "You're fired." This simple line made him even more famous around the world. Millions of people watched The Apprentice every week. For some people, it was the first time they ever saw Donald Trump. They didn't know him as a businessman. They only knew him as a TV star. The show made him look tough, confident, and powerful, the kind of person who always made the final decision. The success of The Apprentice also helped his business. More people wanted to visit Trump hotels, buy Trump products, or play golf at Trump golf courses. Donald started putting his name on many different products, such as Trump steaks, Trump water, Trump clothing, and even Trump University, which was a business training program. Some of these ideas worked well, and some did not, but they all kept his name in the public eye. During this time, Donald Trump became one of the most well-known public figures in the United States. He was not only in business and television, but also in popular culture. He appeared in movies, TV shows, and cartoons. His style, with his suits, his golden buildings, and his confident personality became part of his image. This period of his life showed how important image and reputation can be. Even when his businesses had ups and downs, Donald Trump's name stayed strong because people connected it with success and power. For English learners, this part of the story teaches us something important. Sometimes success is not only about what you do, but also about how people see you. Donald Trump understood this very well and used it to his advantage. By the mid-2000s, Donald Trump was already one of the most famous businessmen in America. He was also a television star because of The Apprentice. Many people knew him for his big buildings, his casinos, his hotels, and his strong personality. But Donald Trump wanted something even bigger: politics. Politics is the work of government and leadership. For many years, Donald Trump talked about politics in interviews. Sometimes he even said he might run for president one day. At first, people did not take this seriously. They thought of him only as a businessman and TV star, not as a political leader. But in 2015, everything changed. Donald Trump made a big announcement. He said he was going to run for President of the United States. He stood in Trump Tower in New York City, came down an escalator with his wife Melania, and told the world his decision. Many people were surprised. Some laughed at him and said he could never win. Others became very excited and believed he could bring something new to politics. Donald Trump's campaign was very different from most other politicians. He spoke in simple language that was easy for people to understand. His main slogan was, "Make America Great Again." This short sentence became very powerful, and many people started wearing red hats with those words printed on them.
He focused on several key issues. One was jobs. He said he wanted to bring jobs back to America, especially for workers in factories who had lost their jobs when companies moved to other countries. Another issue was immigration. He promised to build a wall between the United States and Mexico to stop illegal immigration. He also talked about being tougher in trade deals with countries like China. During his campaign, Donald Trump faced many critics. Some people said he was not experienced enough because he had never worked in government before. Others disagreed with his strong opinions and his way of speaking. But he also gained millions of supporters who liked that he was different from traditional politicians. They saw him as an outsider, someone who was not part of the usual political system. In 2016, Donald Trump became the official Republican candidate for president. His main opponent was Hillary Clinton, a former First Lady, Senator, and Secretary of State. Many people believed Hillary Clinton would win because she had so much experience in politics. Almost all the major news channels predicted her victory. But when the election results came in, the world was shocked. Donald Trump won the Electoral College, which is the system used to decide the president in the United States. On November 8, 2016, he was elected the 45th President of the United States. His victory surprised not only Americans, but also people around the world. For the first time in history, a businessman with no political background became president of the most powerful country in the world. Some people celebrated with great joy, while others were very unhappy about the result. On January 20th, 2017, Donald Trump officially took office. He stood in Washington, D.C., put his hand on the Bible, and made the oath to serve as president. His wife Melania stood beside him, and his children were there too. This was a new chapter in his life. Donald Trump had gone from being a real estate developer to a television star, and now to the President of the United States. His journey showed that he was willing to take risks and do things that others thought were impossible. When Donald Trump became the 45th President of the United States in January 2017, many people were curious to see how he would lead. He had no experience in government, so some people wondered if he could do the job. Others believed his business background would help him make strong decisions. One of the first things Donald Trump focused on was the economy. He wanted to make it easier for businesses to grow. He signed new laws to lower taxes, especially for companies. He believed that if businesses paid less tax, they would use that money to create more jobs. In his first years, the economy grew and unemployment, the number of people without jobs, became very low. Many of his supporters said this showed that his ideas were working.
Another major issue was immigration. Donald Trump promised to build a wall along the border between the United States and Mexico. He said this would stop illegal immigration and keep the country safe. While the entire wall was never completed, his government built new sections and replaced old barriers. This became one of the most famous parts of his presidency. Donald Trump also focused on trade. He said that the United States was losing too much money in deals with other countries, especially China. He placed tariffs, extra taxes, on goods coming from some countries. He believed this would protect American workers and businesses. Some people agreed, but others worried that these trade battles could hurt the global economy. Foreign relations were another important part of his time in office. He met with leaders from many countries, including Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea. No U.S. president before him had met with a North Korean leader. These meetings were very historic, and the world watched closely. Trump said he wanted North Korea to stop making nuclear weapons. While the meetings were friendly, real progress was limited, but it showed that Donald Trump was willing to try new approaches. In healthcare, Donald Trump tried to change the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. He said it was too expensive and did not work well. He wanted to replace it with a new system. But this was very difficult, and not all of his ideas became law. Still, he was able to make some changes, and healthcare remained one of the most debated issues during his presidency. Donald Trump also made changes in the U.S. courts. He chose 3 new justices for the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the country. This gave the court a more conservative direction, meaning it followed more traditional views on law and government. This was one of the longest-lasting effects of his presidency, because Supreme Court justices serve for life. Throughout his time in office, Donald Trump used social media, especially Twitter, to communicate directly with the public. Unlike most presidents, who usually gave speeches on TV, Trump often wrote short messages online. His tweets could be seen instantly by millions of people. Some people liked this because they felt he was speaking directly to them. Others thought it was unprofessional or too aggressive. Still, it made him one of the most talked-about presidents in history. His presidency was not without controversy. Many people supported him strongly, while many others strongly opposed him. His way of speaking, direct, bold, and sometimes harsh, divided the country. Supporters saw him as honest and unafraid to say what he thought. Critics saw him as rude or unfit for the office. Despite these differences, Donald Trump remained a central figure in American politics. Everything he did, whether people liked it or not, made headlines around the world. Donald Trump's presidency had many successes, but it also had very difficult moments. One of the most serious challenges he faced was impeachment. In 2019, the House of Representatives, which is part of the U.S. Congress, accused Donald Trump of abusing his power as president. They said he pressured Ukraine, another country, to investigate Joe Biden, who was one of Trump's political rivals. Because of this, the House voted to impeach him. Impeachment means that Congress formally accuses the president of wrongdoing. However, impeachment does not always mean removal from office. After the House impeaches, the Senate must hold a trial. In early 2020, the Senate held that trial and voted to acquit Donald Trump. This means they decided not to remove him. He stayed in office and continued as president. This was a very big event in American politics, and it showed how divided the country had become. Some people thought Trump had done something wrong, while others believed he was innocent. Soon after this, the world faced an even bigger problem: the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2020, the coronavirus spread across the globe, including the United States. This was a huge test for every world leader, including Donald Trump. His government created travel bans, closed borders, and worked to provide medical equipment. Later, his administration helped support the development of vaccines in record time. But his handling of the pandemic also brought criticism. Some people thought he did not act quickly enough at the beginning. Others thought he made the situation worse by speaking too casually about the virus. His opponents said he gave mixed messages, while his supporters said he was trying to keep the country calm during a very frightening time. The pandemic also had a huge impact on the U.S. economy. Many businesses closed, millions of people lost their jobs, and schools were shut down. This was especially difficult for Donald Trump, because before the pandemic, the economy was one of his strongest achievements. Suddenly, things became much harder for the country and for his presidency. Then came the 2020 election. Donald Trump decided to run for a second term as president. His main opponent was Joe Biden, who had been vice president under Barack Obama. The election took place during the pandemic, so many people voted by mail instead of going to polling places. When the votes were counted, Joe Biden won the election. But Donald Trump and many of his supporters claimed that the election was unfair. They said there was fraud, even though courts and election officials found no clear evidence of cheating. This created a lot of anger and division in the country. The situation became even more serious on January 6, 2021. On that day, Congress was meeting to officially confirm Joe Biden's victory. But a large group of Trump's supporters gathered in Washington, D.C. Some of them stormed the U.S. Capitol building, breaking windows and entering offices. This event shocked the world. It was seen as an attack on American democracy. After this, Donald Trump was impeached for a second time, accused of encouraging the riot. This made him the first U.S. president in history to be impeached twice. Once again, the Senate held a trial, and once again, he was not removed from office. But the event left a deep mark on his presidency and on the country. On January 20th, 2021, Joe Biden officially became the new president and Donald Trump left the White House. Unlike most former presidents, Trump did not attend Biden's inauguration ceremony. Instead, he traveled back to his home in Florida. This marked the end of Donald Trump's time as president, but it did not end his influence. He still had millions of supporters who believed in him, and he continued to play a major role in American politics.
After leaving the White House in January 2021, Donald Trump returned to his private life, but he did not step away from politics. In fact, his influence remained very strong. Millions of people across the United States still supported him and believed that he had been a successful president. Trump moved back to his resort in Florida called Mar-a-Lago. From there, he continued to make public statements, hold events, and criticize the new government under Joe Biden. Many people expected him to quietly retire after such a dramatic presidency. But Trump showed that he had no plans to disappear from public life. One of the first things he focused on was keeping his supporters close. He held rallies, large public gatherings where he gave speeches, just like he had done during his presidential campaigns. Thousands of people attended these rallies. His speeches were often about the economy, immigration, the 2020 election, and his belief that America needed strong leadership. At the same time, Donald Trump faced many legal and political challenges. Some investigations looked at his business practices, while others focused on his role in the events of January 6th. These investigations brought him a lot of attention, and his critics said they showed why he should not return to power. But his supporters believed that he was being unfairly targeted because of his popularity. Even with these challenges, Trump remained one of the most important voices in the Republican Party. Many new politicians looked to him for support. If Trump endorsed or supported a candidate, that candidate often became very popular among Republican voters. This showed that Trump's influence on the party was still very strong. Another interesting part of his life after the presidency was how he continued to use media. While he was banned from Twitter for some time, he created his own social media platform called Truth Social. On this platform, he shared his thoughts directly with his followers, similar to how he had used Twitter before. This helped him stay connected and keep his voice loud in American politics. Trump also returned to his business activities. His family company, the Trump Organization, continued to manage hotels, golf clubs, and other properties. He also remained a very famous public figure, appearing often in news and television. But the biggest question was, would Donald Trump run for president again? For months, people wondered what he would decide. Finally, in November 2022, he announced that he would run for president in the 2024 election. This was historic because very few U.S. presidents had ever tried to return to power after losing an election. His announcement excited his supporters but worried his opponents. Some Americans felt that he was the only leader who could bring back economic strength and protect the country. Others believed that his return would create more division and conflict. This period after the presidency showed that Donald Trump was not just a former president, he was still an active and powerful political figure. Whether people loved him or disliked him, no one could ignore him.
Donald Trump's life has been full of highs and lows, successes and challenges. From his early years in New York City to building a business empire, becoming a television star, and eventually becoming president, his story shows how ambition, confidence, and persistence can shape a person's life. Many people admire Donald Trump because he never gave up, even when faced with major difficulties. In the 1990s, when some of his casinos and hotels were losing money, he faced financial troubles that could have ended his career. But he worked hard, made new deals, and rebuilt his reputation. This persistence helped him succeed again in business and later in politics. Donald Trump is also famous for his strong personality. He is confident, bold, and outspoken. Some people admire this because it shows leadership and determination. Others criticize him for being too direct or for speaking without caution. Regardless of opinions, it is clear that he knows how to capture attention and influence people. His story also shows the importance of branding and image. Donald Trump used his name as a symbol of wealth, luxury, and power. Trump Tower, Trump Hotels, and even Trump products allowed him to create a global brand. People around the world recognized the Trump name, and this helped him build both business success and public recognition. In politics, Donald Trump made history by becoming a president without prior political experience. He used simple language, clear slogans like "Make America Great Again," and social media to communicate directly with millions of people. His approach changed how political campaigns are run, showing the power of media and public perception. Even after leaving the presidency, Donald Trump remains a major influence. His rallies, speeches, and endorsements continue to shape American politics. He also announced his candidacy for the 2024 election, showing that he is still active and wants to have an impact on the country's future. Donald Trump's life is also a family story. He has 5 children: Donald Jr., Ivanka, Eric, Tiffany, and Barron, and many grandchildren. His family has been involved in his business and, in some cases, in politics. This shows how family can play an important role in supporting a person's goals and ambitions. Overall, Donald Trump's story teaches several lessons. First, hard work and persistence are important, even when facing difficulties. Second, confidence and belief in oneself can help people take risks and achieve success. Third,
The way people present themselves and their ideas can be as important as the ideas themselves. No matter what people think about him, Donald Trump has been a central figure in business, media, and politics for decades. He has inspired supporters, faced criticism, and shaped discussions about leadership and success around the world. His life shows that ambition, persistence, and a willingness to take risks can lead to great achievements, but they also bring challenges, controversies, and responsibilities. Donald Trump's journey, from a young boy in Queens to one of the most famous businessmen and the President of the United States, is a story of determination, ambition, and influence. It reminds us that life is full of opportunities and challenges, and with hard work and confidence, it is possible to make a lasting impact on the world.